In our previous discussion, we left Italian diving in a rather precarious position, held back by a 1979 decree that simply could not keep pace with industry advancements. Today, we delve into the pivotal moment that dramatically altered that landscape. Rachel, let's turn our attention south towards Palermo.
That's right, Jake. The period between 2001 and 2016 was a time of immense change. While national legislation in Rome remained largely static, the global commercial diving market was evolving quickly. Major companies like ENI, CEDIFOP, and Enel began to include requirements in their tender specifications that bore no resemblance to the old 1979 decree. They were demanding IMCA certifications, IDSA standards, and diver medic qualifications.
So we had a complete disconnect. On the one hand, the state only recognized the port-based commercial diver, the OTS, but on the other, energy giants were laying down clear demands, effectively saying, quote, if you don't have certified training according to international standards, you don't go into the water on our plants, end quote. It sounds like this legislative void created a strategic opening, particularly for the Sicilian region, didn't it?
It certainly did. Things really picked up pace in 2011. Thanks to its statutory autonomy, Sicily made the bold move to explicitly reference IDSA, the International Diving Schools Association, standards in its vocational training directives. That was the first genuine regulatory anchor. But the truly revolutionary step was Regional Law No. 7 of 21 April 2016. Jake, this was far more than just another regional law. It was a comprehensive industrial manifesto.
It's vital to grasp the technicalities here because this is where a diver's professional life was fundamentally reshaped. Article 1 of Law 7 finally gave a proper definition to the commercial diving professional, using the ISTAT classification and, crucially, including inshore, offshore and inland water activities. But you mentioned Article 2 as the real masterpiece, dividing the profession into 3 clear hierarchical levels, just like the rest of the world. Can you outline those levels for us?
Of course. First, we have the first level, the inshore diver, who works up to 30 meters. Then the second level, the offshore air diver, also known as top-up, for work up to 50 meters. And finally, the third level, the offshore SAT diver, the saturation diver who operates beyond 50 meters. For the first time in Italy, a law unequivocally stated that becoming a saturation diver required a closed bell system and very specific training. When you compare this to the 1979 decree, it truly felt prehistoric.
And it wasn't just about creating new levels, was it? We must not overlook the significance of Article 3, Paragraph 2. This law mandated that training must adhere to IDSA standards and IMCA or HSE guidelines. This particular clause is crucial because Sicily wasn't just inventing a new teaching method, it adopted the best global practices and effectively elevated them to regional law. It was a clear embrace of international standards.
Absolutely. But the true innovation, the one that finally resolved the persistent issue of worker traceability, was Article 4, the creation of the telematic registry and the personal ID card. Before this, to prove one's qualifications, a diver would present a paper logbook, which was often illegible or easily manipulated. With what became known as the Sicily model, every operator now had a digital card and a unique progressive number. An employer, whether in London or Aberdeen, could instantly verify online if that diver was genuinely qualified. It represented a generational leap.
Rachel, there's an aspect many overlook, the significant legal battle that could have ensued. When Sicily passed this law, there was a genuine risk the state would challenge it for excess of competence, arguing it encroached on a legislative area meant for national jurisdiction. Yet in Council of Ministers number 121 of 2016, the government chose not to challenge the law. What did that mean for Sicily's pioneering effort?
That decision provided the definitive green light. It meant Sicily officially became Italy's regulatory laboratory for diving. And then came the DPRS 31 of 2018, the implementing regulation that truly gave muscle to the law. This is where we see the introduction of the Europass certificate supplement. It's a technical but incredibly important step. Thanks to this document, the qualification obtained in Sicily became marketable across the entire European Union under Directive 2005/36/EC. It effectively broke the isolation of Italian commercial divers.
So if our previous lesson highlighted how the 1979 diver was essentially a prisoner of the port, Law 7 of 2016 truly transformed them into a global professional. They could still work inshore for port authorities, but their training was now recognized by the international industry, opening doors to large offshore vessels or extraction platforms. It was a profound emancipation.
However, Jake, a problem still lingered. Sicily was a happy island of progress. But what about the rest of Italy? Other regions and the central state largely remained observers. A two-speed system had emerged. Those trained in Sicily were now technicians of the future, while divers registered in other Coast Guard offices remained tied to the old 1979 scheme.
It became increasingly clear that the Sicily model could not remain isolated. There was a pressing need to bridge this modernity to a national level. A new state law was required that not only addressed training, but also incorporated safety, infrastructure protection, and emerging technologies. This evolution was simply inevitable.
And this is where our story truly prepares for its final chapter. In 2026, the Italian state decided to reclaim the stage, adopting the Sicilian lesson and expanding it onto an even larger scale, that of national security.
We will explore this epical leap in our next discussion. But for today, remember, Sicily's Law 7 of 2016 was the lifeboat that prevented Italian diving from sinking into regulatory oblivion. If you found this insight into Italian diving regulations interesting, please consider sharing this episode with someone else.